Now at 6, polls remain open. Candidates and all of us are ready for results. THV11 has everything you need to know as Decision Day turns to election night in Arkansas.
I'm Frederick Price at Chris Jones' watch party. Next, we'll have the latest and why he's optimistic he can still pull off a win on this final day of the gubernatorial race.
In just a few hours, the Sarah Huckabee Sanders campaign party will begin. I'm Sarah Backowitz, and I'll be here all night with the latest campaign details.
I'm Ashley Godwin at the Steve Landers watch party, where he hopes to become the next mayor of Little Rock.
I'm in Rossville Mayor Frank Scott Jr.'s bid for re-election. We have live coverage from here at the Hall, including why he says he's the right choice to lead Little Rock into the future.
All eyes on issue 4. I'm Julissa Garza with what both sides of the issue are saying today.
Good evening on this election day. Thank you for joining your Election Central. I'm Faith Woodard.
And I'm Rolly Hoyt. As you can see at the bottom of your screen, you've got about an hour and a half left to get online to cast your ballot in the 2022 midterm elections.
Arkansans are tasked with some big decisions like selecting the state's next governor and the capital city's next mayor. Our team of talented journalists are with the candidates this evening, keeping us informed tonight. We'll hear from our crews in the field coming up in just a moment.
But first, let's begin with the number of people who are still standing in line right now, waiting to cast their ballot. Just last night, we showed you early voting lines wrapping around the block here in Little Rock. Today, no different at a lot more places.
Yeah, our Brooke Buckner joins us now with what poll watchers have seen today. Brooke.
Hey, Faith and Rolly, those lines are still long, especially here at Emmanuel Baptist Church. I know it's dark and you can't really see out into the parking lot like I can, but this line just continues to grow and people are getting off of work and going to their polling sites that they are designated to go to. And if you don't know where you need to go vote, you can check voterview.org. That should tell you the information you need. Also, don't forget to bring your ID. You're going to need that to vote. The Election Commission tells me they expect it to continue to grow. So far, they've had 42,000 people vote today, and early voting numbers came out to be nearly 69,000. So they have a pretty good turnout so far. They hope that continues on throughout the night, and I'll have more information and updated numbers coming up later on in the show. For now, I'll send it back to you guys.
All right, Brooke, thank you. Brush up before the ballot. Text us the word vote to 501-376-1111, and we'll send you the THV11 voting guide. There, we break down everything you can expect to see on your ballot. It's a great refresher on the different ballot issues and a breakdown of all the candidates. Again, that's vote, V-O-T-E, to 501-376-1111.
Chief Meteorologist Tom Brannon joins us with our election evening forecast. It can often have a big role on election night, but calm all day today.
I've seen past voting very wet, very cold.
Yeah.
Not like tonight. Beautiful night out there tonight. Temperatures in the 60s and 70s, cooling slowly. It was a beautiful day. Here's what you can expect over the next couple of 3 hours with mainly clear skies. Those numbers dropping off into the middle to upper 60s. Coming up in just a few moments, we will talk about the long-range forecast, which does include some much colder air. Stay tuned for that. Faith and Rolly, back to you.
All right, thank you, Tom. Let's get into this. The key races we are watching closely. One of them, governor. The race to be Arkansas's 47th chief executive will be historic.
Either Arkansas will elect its first woman or black man as Arkansas governor. We have team coverage for you tonight. Our Sarah Horbakowitz is at the Sarah Sanders campaign party that is just getting started.
But first, we join our Frederick Price at the watch party for Democrat Chris Jones. Joins us now as the nuclear scientist tries to land a moonshot and upset this race.
Hey, good evening, guys. Yeah, the Chris Jones campaign team are here, putting the finishing touches and gearing up for his Election Day watch party. He's not expected to be here until after polls close, but his campaign team told me that he made a stop to the Dunbar Community Center and the Church of Christ on Geyer Springs to kind of rally with voters. Now, on this final day of the gubernatorial race, he is still optimistic he can pull off a win against his opponent, Sarah Huckabee Sanders, which the latest polling shows she has a 10-point lead against him. And now Jones has been trying to fill that gap. Even today, he made stops in towns like Hope, Prescott, his hometown of Pine Bluff, door knocking on doors and rallying, trying to get his supporters to the polls. Now, Jones is focusing a lot on preschool, broadband, and jobs, PB&J, as he calls it. He plans to target those small rural areas like Mena and Wabaseka, that don't have the educational internet or even job resources and wants to turn that around. Now, throughout this campaign, he's talked a lot about how education is something his parents made sure he got. You'll remember Jones is a nuclear engineer and earned his doctorate degree. He's hoping to provide those same tools and technology to Arkansans to build business and create jobs. Now, this is obviously going to be a historic race in more ways than one. If he is elected, he would be Arkansas's first Black American male governor. So certainly a lot of things to watch tonight, and we'll be here all throughout the night watching those and letting you know the latest. For now, though, we're going to send things over to Sarah Horbakowitz, who has the latest on the Sarah Huckabee Sanders election watch party. Sarah, what are you seeing there?
That's right, Frederick. Either way, a record tonight. If elected, Sarah Huckabee Sanders would be the first female governor of Arkansas. The campaign here is feeling pretty confident as guests start to come in. Now, Sarah Huckabee Sanders herself won't be speaking until long after polls close, but she did go to vote today because, again, that's what it all comes down to, the platform and the votes. She is polling ahead of Chris Jones right now, adding to that confidence, and her funding is also far ahead of Chris Jones with over $9 million in her campaign bank in total. So again, when she went to vote with her family, she spoke with media about what she would plan to do if elected governor.
Things like education and making sure every child in the state has access to a quality education, making sure our neighborhoods and our communities are safe, phasing out the state income tax and rewarding hard work.
And while her plan is about Arkansas, something notable about this race is the nationalization of it, also coming from her national recognition and her time in D.C. We'll get a little more into that later on tonight, but for now, I'll send it back to you guys in the studio.
Sarah, thank you very much. We'd be remiss if we didn't mention Libertarian candidate Ricky Dale Harrington Jr. is also on the governor's ticket. Harrington ran against Tom Cotton 2 years ago, making history as the first black man to run for U.S. Senate here in Arkansas.
Turning now to another highly anticipated race, the next mayor of Little Rock. There are 4 candidates running, including current mayor Frank Scott Jr., but we start with his most notable opponent, Steve Landers. THV11's Ashley Godwin is at his watch party tonight. Ashley, he is running with the idea that Little Rock is headed in a bad direction, and he will work to fix it.
Right, Faith. Well, actually, we are at the watch party, and they are actively getting things together, even blowing up balloons behind me. But yes, Steve was out making his last efforts today. He voted this morning, and he told us his top 3 things he wants to get started on once he is elected, and that includes reducing crime. He does have a 3-point plan to reduce that, including building relationships with surrounding law enforcement agencies, putting more funding into the police department, and recruiting more officers. He also wants to hire a new police chief within his first 45 days in office. Second, he wants to bring more transparency to the city. And third, build up our infrastructure like parks and recreation and renovating our community centers.
I think people in the city are ready for a change, you know, and change is not always bad. Sometimes it takes change to move something forward, and I think I'm that change for them.
And Ian Russell joins us now at Mayor Frank Scott Jr.'s watch party. Ian, while Steve Landers opposes the way Mayor Frank Scott Jr. has the city headed, the mayor says he would like to continue his efforts to grow Little Rock.
Yeah, actually, you're absolutely right. That's been a big focus for Mayor Scott currently, but of course that doesn't come without some challenges from his opponents and some hurdles that the mayor is going to have to clear here. Let's go ahead and start where he was at this morning, though, as he kicked off his election day, and of course that was at the polls, speaking to voters and campaigning for their votes. Now, he does have, or voters do have a lot to consider, of course, on this election. Remember, Mayor Frank Scott Jr. led Little Rock through the COVID-19 pandemic and the protest after George Floyd's death, and a lot of people have been very happy with his focus on revitalizing and reinvigorating Southwest Little Rock. But Scott's opponents are quick to point out what they say the mayor has just not done well. Scott's Rebuild the Rock proposal, which was voted down last year, the failed entertainment festival Lit Fest, and of course Little Rock's homicide trends. And when we caught up with Scott earlier today, he says his top priority if he's reelected is addressing crime.
My first thing on the agenda is to name a new police chief, quick, fast, in a hurry. We've had some great leadership under the acting chief of police in Wayne Bewley. We're very grateful for him and the men and women of the Little Rock Police Department, but that is my top priority, is naming a police chief, quick, fast, in a hurry.
Now, Mayor Scott's re-election campaign is set to start here at the Hall in just about an hour, and of course we got a busy night ahead for you. I'll be out here at the Hall all night long live, bringing you the latest. We're live in Little Rock tonight. Ian Russell, THV11 News.
All right, Ian, thank you. Mayor Scott and Landers aren't just facing off against each other. Greg Henderson and Glenn Schwartz are also in the running. Those Scott and Landers are considered the front runners in this race.
We are among a handful of states set to decide if we want to continue a trend and bring recreational marijuana to the natural state. Our Jalissa Garza has been following issue 4 closely. Joins us with what is at stake. Jalissa?
Well, Rolly, there is a lot at stake, a lot of eyes on issue 4, those for it, those against it. A big race again tonight. We could see if this issue does pass, Arkansas would be the 20th state in the country to legalize recreational marijuana and the first southern state to do that. And that's what Responsible Growth Arkansas is hoping for tonight. They've been setting up since about 3 o'clock, just waiting to see what happens when the polls close tonight. They believe that this would be good for Arkansans, that more jobs would come in. And at first they had a lot of support, but recently that recent poll from the University of Arkansas showing a big dip in support. Now, they tell me they're not concerned. They're just happy that this made the ballot, especially because it's the only issue that is citizen-driven.
It's a major accomplishment just to get a citizens initiative on the ballot. They are often tried and they often fail. So we're just really excited that Arkansans are able to to cast their vote and decide whether or not they want to safely legalize cannabis for adults 21 and older.
Alex Gray there with Responsible Growth Arkansas. We're going to hear from him more later tonight, but he also says they're keeping a close eye on other issues that are on the ballot, like issue 2, that could have a direct impact on this issue. So he believes now is the time for Arkansans to push for legalizing recreational marijuana. As for those on the opposing side, we've seen a lot of people come together yesterday, about 40 different groups at the Capitol, all with different organizations like the Trucking Association, and even some people who supported medical marijuana passing, all opposing this bill, saying that it's just not right for Arkansans. Now, throughout the night, we're going to be hearing from both sides and keeping you updated on air and online. And again, if you have not voted yet or in line and want to look at a breakdown of issue 4, you can head over to THV11.com. For now, I'm going to go ahead and send it back to you in studio.
Thank you, Jalissa. Issue 4 isn't the only ballot initiative we're following this evening. Voters also weighing in on 3 other amendment proposals. Issue 1 would give state lawmakers the ability to call a special legislative session without the governor.
And what Jalissa and Alex Gray referred to, issue 2 would require future ballot initiatives to receive a 60% majority to pass. Issue 3 hopes to ban the government from being a burden on someone's religious freedoms. And again, we're following all of these issues closely. They will be contested, and we'll have those results as we go through the night.
And be sure to watch THV11 tonight when the polls close at 7:30. We'll be streaming non-stop on the new THV11 Plus app on your Roku or Amazon Fire device. Our team of anchors, reporters, and experts will be breaking down the results. Charles King from Philander Smith College will stop by, and Lance Turner from Arkansas Business will be here. We'll have it all on THV11 Plus before we come back on TV at 10.
Well, the time is now 6:12. That means another hour and 48 minutes. And folks still waiting in line, trying to cast their ballot in these midterm elections. We'll get an update on those lines at the polls and more comprehensive coverage when we come back.
Big changes on the way weather-wise. Still beautiful out there this evening, but by the time we hit the end of the week, some much colder air. A little taste of winter is entering Arkansas just in time for modern gun deer season. I'll have your forecast in just a few moments.
THV11 Election Central coverage here continuing at 6:20 Central Time. Still more than an hour left to get out and vote.
A lot of counties reporting high voter turnout for a midterm election. We want to check back in with Brooke Buckner, who has been keeping up with voting across Central Arkansas.
Brooke, what are we seeing in Pulaski County out in West Little Rock?
Hey, Rolly and Faith, the line is still long here at Emmanuel Baptist Church in West Little Rock, and I'm here to talk some numbers now. I'm joined by Pulaski County and Circuit Clerk Terry Hollingsworth. How are you doing tonight?
I'm doing well. Great to be here. Thank you.
Thank you for joining us. So I want to hear from you. What has voter turnout been like today in Pulaski County?
Well, as of 5:30, we had about 45,000 folks who had already voted. And as you can see, we have a long line here at Emmanuel, and we have long lines at other locations.
Awesome. Glad to hear that. Have any issues come up around the county at any polling locations?
So there have been some issues in terms of running out of ballots, and which is a good thing. That means people are actually participating in this democracy. But we haven't had any other kind of issues other than people changing their names or changing their address, those kinds of things.
And you recommend people go to voterview.org to make sure their information is up to date and they know where to vote?
I certainly recommend that anybody that's getting in line now, please make sure you go to VoterView, check out your ballot, make sure you know the polling location that you need to go to so that you go to the right place. And if you feel like you're not in the right place, or if they tell you, get in your car, go to the right place, we want to make sure that you get your vote done today.
And time is ticking. The line ends at 7:30. You can't vote after that. What do you feel like people need to know before they head out to the polls?
Well, they need to make sure they take their ID with them. They need to make sure that if they are in line at 7:30, that they stay in line. They will be able to vote. So we want to make sure they do that and make sure they take their ID.
All right. And do you have any expectations as we go on through the next hour, a little more than an hour?
Well, I'll tell you what, I was expecting that we would get some numbers early, but looking at these wonderful long lines and people participating in our democracy, it's going to be a while today. So I want people to be patient with us as we get those numbers in.
Good to know. Well, thank you so much for your time. Thank you for joining us, and I will send it back to you, Faith and Rolly.
Brooke, thank you. So that's good to know as we head into the evening. You can count on us for the coverage. Now, if you are still looking to vote, as you heard from Clerk Hollingsworth there, go check out VoterView to know where to go. If you want to decide how to vote, you can just text the word VOTE to 501-376-1111. We've got our THV11 voter guide. It'll go straight to your phone. And then once we start getting those results in, text us again on that same line, same word, and we'll send you the latest results. We'll be right back. Welcome back. Tonight we're going all out on the THV11 Plus app. It's for Fire Sticks and Roku. Lance Turner from Arkansas Business will be with us all night, as will Charles King from Philander Smith College with some perspective on what we're seeing as these results come in. So make sure you flip on. After the polls close at 7:30, we're going to let you know all these results live as these races get called and show you how these races impact you here in Arkansas.
And with just a little over an hour to go, the temperature is cooling off into the upper 60s under clear skies. No weather concerns whatsoever. Meteorologist Nathan Scott will come back here in a few minutes and also talk about the weather the next few days. Expected a big cool down by the end of the week, heading into the weekend.
Big cool down scares us a little.
Okay, it's going to be cold. It's going to be colder.
I'm not looking forward to that. I was excited, and now not so much.
You knew it was coming eventually.
Yeah.
We will also have some more nationally focused coverage as 6:30 Central continues our election night coverage here in the next couple of minutes, so stick with us.